My name is Tessa Caldwell. I am 32 years old, and on Christmas Eve I made the kind of drive people tell you not to make unless someone is dying. 6 hours from Minneapolis to northern Michigan, through whiteout snow, black ice, and wind so hard it shook my steering wheel. I kept telling myself it would be worth it. I had gifts in the back seat, a pecan pie on the floorboard, and one stupid little hope in my chest that maybe this year, when I walked in, they would finally look happy to see me. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands were stiff from gripping the wheel. The windows of the house glowed warm. Cars filled the driveway. Everyone was inside. Everyone except me. I stepped onto the porch with snow in my hair and knocked. The door opened only a few inches. My brother looked at me, looked past me at my car, then smiled like I had just walked into a joke everyone else already knew. He said, "You really did not get the hint, did you? It is family only, this year." For a second, I honestly thought I had misheard him. Family only, while I was standing there with Christmas gifts in my arms. No one came behind him. No one called my name. No one said, "Let her in." The door closed softly, and somehow that was worse than a slam. I walked back to my car without saying a word. 20 minutes later, while I was still sitting in a gas station parking lot with the heater barely working, my phone lit up with a text from my father that was clearly not meant for me. It said, "Unbelievable. She really thought she was welcome." I stared at those words until something inside me went completely quiet. Then I opened my banking app and started canceling every automatic payment connected to them. Before I tell you what happened by morning, tell me what the weather is like where you are right now. Is it cold, heavy, and silent like that night was for me? Or is it the kind of weather that makes people feel safe? Stay with me, because one tap on my phone turned their perfect Christmas dinner into the beginning of their worst nightmare. The drive back to Minneapolis felt longer than 6 hours, even though the storm had started to calm down. My hand stayed on the wheel, but my mind was still on that porch, on that door closing softly in my face, and on the text from my father that said, "I really thought I was welcome." I did not scream. I did not call anyone. I did not turn around and demand an explanation. I just drove, because for the first time I understood that explaining pain to people who caused it on purpose only gives them another chance to insult you. When I reached my apartment, the sky was turning gray. I sat in my car with the engine off and opened my banking app. The truth looked different when it was written in numbers. $200 every month for my parents' propane account. $380 toward my brother's pickup truck because he said he needed it for work. Minimum payments on a credit line his wife promised they would pay off in 6 months. That was almost 2 years ago. Insurance payments for the family cabins, snowplow service for the property, medical copays, utility catch-ups, birthday money for kids who only remembered to call me Aunt Tessa when a gift was coming. I had spent years telling myself I was helping, but real families do not take your money and then laugh when you show up in the cold. So I canceled everything. I removed my card from the propane account. I stopped the transfer to the credit line. I paused the cabin insurance payment and asked the company to contact the property owners directly. I canceled the snowplow renewal that had been billed to me for 3 winters. I even removed myself from the shared warehouse club account my brother's wife had been using like a personal grocery fund. Every time the app asked, "Are you sure?" I pressed yes. I slept for maybe 2 hours. When I woke up, my phone looked like it had caught fire. 43 missed calls. My brother called first, then his wife, then my mother, then my father, then numbers I did not recognize. There were texts, too. "Where are you? Call me right now. This is not funny. You cannot just do this." Nobody said they were sorry for leaving me outside. Nobody said they were sorry for the text. Then I played the first voicemail. It was my brother's wife, and her voice was shaking. "Tessa, please do not do this. We have payments coming out tomorrow. You do not understand what you are ruining. I listened twice, because those words told me everything. She did not say I was ruining Christmas. She did not say I was ruining family. She said payments. That was what I had been to them. Not a daughter. Not a sister. A payment method. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table while my phone kept buzzing. The old me would have called back, apologized, and restored everything before anyone had to face a consequence. But that woman did not come back from Michigan with me. She was still standing on that porch, holding a pie in the snow, waiting for someone to remember she belonged there. Around noon, my father left a voicemail. He sounded irritated, not ashamed. "Tessa, this is childish. Families have misunderstandings. You need to call us before this gets out of hand." I almost laughed. A misunderstanding is forgetting to set an extra plate. Telling your daughter she is not family, then admitting you all knew she was not welcome, is not a misunderstanding. It is a confession. I did not reply. I opened my laptop and started downloading statements. Every transfer, every bill, every account confirmation. I put them into a folder named Christmas. At first, I thought I was only protecting myself emotionally. I did not know I was about to need those records for something much bigger. Later that afternoon, an email came in from a bank in Michigan. It was a routine notification about a refinance application connected to Caldwell Pine Farm and winter cabins. At the bottom, under financial guarantor, was my full legal name. I had not signed anything. I had not agreed to anything. And if they were willing to throw me out on Christmas Eve while still using my name to borrow money, then this was no longer family drama. This was fraud. I spent Christmas Day alone, but it was not the sad movie version of alone. No crying on the floor, no dramatic music, no bottle of wine. It was quieter than that. I stood in my kitchen, made toast, and realized I had no idea what I liked to do when nobody needed me. That scared me more than the silence. For years, my schedule had been full of other people's emergencies. I worked long hours at the credit union, and when I got home, there was always something from my family waiting. A bill, a complaint, a guilt trip wrapped in casual language. "We are fine, do not worry, but the propane company has been calling." Or, "I guess we will figure out the truck payment somehow." They never technically demanded anything, because demanding would make them look greedy. They just placed the problem in front of me and waited for me to pick it up. And I always did. That Christmas, I did something radical. I left the problem on the floor. I blocked notifications from the family group chat. I made breakfast. I cleaned my apartment. I took a long shower and then sat at my desk, looking at the life I had built. It was neat, successful, and empty. Nice couch, no memories. Good kitchen, no favorite meals. Books I meant to read. Shoes for hobbies I never started. I had spent so many years being useful that I forgot to become happy. The first thing I bought for myself was a small rosemary plant from the grocery store downstairs. It smelled like something alive. I put it in the kitchen window and named it June, mostly because winter had taken enough from me. Then I signed up for a cooking class. I went back to the gym. The first workout was awful, but walking home in the cold afterward, I felt present in my own body again instead of trapped inside everyone else's expectations. Work started again after the holiday, and I threw myself into it in a different way. I was a fraud risk analyst, which meant my job was to notice patterns other people ignored. Repeated transfers, suspicious signatures, sudden changes in financial behavior. People think fraud looks dramatic, but most of the time it looks ordinary. A familiar name on a form, a rushed signature, a relative saying, "Do not worry, we already handled it." Maybe that was why the email from the Michigan bank bothered me so much. The refinance application connected to Caldwell Pine Farm should never have included my name. The property belonged to my parents. My grandfather had started it decades ago as a Christmas tree farm, then added a few winter cabins for families who wanted a quiet holiday near the lake. It was not glamorous, but it mattered. I had helped pay insurance because my mother once cried to me, saying she was afraid they would lose it after a bad season. I thought I was preserving something for all of us. Now my name was being used as a guarantor for money I had never approved. I called the bank calmly and asked for any documents bearing my consent. The representative hesitated when I gave my name. That hesitation told me enough. She said the application had been started, and yes, my name was listed as financial support. I asked if there was a signed authorization. She paused again and said it was pending review. Pending review is a beautiful phrase when you know how to hear it. It means something is not clean yet. I thanked her, hung up, and started a new folder on my laptop. This one I named Evidence. Over the next few weeks, I saved voicemails, downloaded old payment records, and found every email where my brother or his wife mentioned the farm, the cabins, the truck, the credit line, or needing just a little help until things got stable. I did not know exactly what I was building yet, but I knew I was building something. Then, near the end of January, my mother called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Her voice was low and nervous. "Tessa, I did not know you came home on Christmas Eve." Then she whispered, "There are things happening with the farm, and I do not think I understand what I signed." For a few seconds, I said nothing. I just listened to my mother breathing on the other end of the line like she had been holding fear inside her for too long. Then I asked her to start from the beginning. She told me that on Christmas Eve she had been upstairs getting ready when I knocked. My brother told her it was someone dropping off a package. His wife said not to worry about it. My father knew better. He knew there was a chance it was me, but he did not come to the door. He did not call my name. He chose the warm room, the full plate, and the easy silence. That hurt more than I expected. I could understand being disliked by someone selfish. I could even understand being used by someone greedy. But my father had always acted like the fair one, the reasonable one, the man who said family should not fight on holidays. Now I understood that some people do not create peace. They just protect the bully from consequences. My mother cried when I told her about the text he sent by mistake. She said she did not know. I believed her, but belief did not heal it. Then she told me about the papers. My brother and his wife had been coming over almost every weekend. At first, they brought groceries and talked about helping with the farm. Then they started saying she and my father were too old to manage Caldwell Pine Farm and winter cabins. They said the cabin rentals needed modernization. They said taxes would be easier if everything moved under an LLC. My mother did not really understand what that meant. My brother's wife told her it would protect the family. Protect the family. I almost admired how clean the lie was. My mother admitted she had signed a few documents because they kept telling her everyone had already agreed. Everyone included me, supposedly. They said I was too busy to be involved, but I supported the plan financially. That was when I understood why my name had appeared in the refinance application. Publicly, I was not family enough to enter the house on Christmas Eve. Financially, I was family enough to strengthen a loan. I asked my mother if she wanted to transfer the farm. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "No, not like this. Your grandfather planted the first trees with his own hands. I do not want to lose it." I asked where my father stood. She sighed and said, "He thinks your brother understands business better." That almost made me laugh. My brother understood how to borrow money and call it ambition. He understood how to make other people pay for his risks, but business requires accountability. I asked my mother to send me pictures of every paper she had. The images came in blurry at first, then clearer. A management agreement, a draft power of attorney, a refinance authorization, a document referencing a company I had never heard of, North Lantern Holdings. I searched the name while she was still on the phone. The LLC had been created 6 weeks earlier. Registered agent, my brother's wife. Mailing address, their house. They were not moving the farm into a family business. They were moving it into their control. I kept digging. Public records showed no transfer yet, but there was a pending lien inquiry. A broker's valuation had been requested. In an old forwarded email my brother's wife had written, "Once the farm refinance clears, we can move fast." There it was. They were not trying to save Caldwell Pine Farm. They were trying to use it as a ladder. Borrow against it, buy their dream lake house, maybe rent out the cabins under their own company, and leave my parents with the risk. I told my mother not to sign anything else. I told her not to warn them. Just wait. When I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Then I opened the evidence folder and added a new subfolder called Farm. The pain was still there, but something sharper had joined it. Purpose. I was done begging for a place at their table. The next time I drove back to Michigan, it would not be for Christmas dinner. It would be for proof. 2 weeks later, I drove back to Traverse City under a clear blue sky. No snowstorm, no gifts, no pie, no small hope in my chest begging to be fed. Just me, my phone, a folder of printed documents, and a calmness that felt almost dangerous. I parked at the end of the driveway. The farm looked the same from the outside. Rows of Christmas trees stood under patches of old snow. The cabins sat beyond them, quiet and rustic, with smoke rising from one chimney, where renters were probably enjoying the peaceful winter weekend my family was trying to sell out from under my mother. I knocked once. My brother opened the door. For a second, his face did the math. No storm, no presents, no apology. He forced a smile and said, "Well, look who finally decided to come around." I did not smile back. I said, "I need to talk to Mom." His wife appeared behind him almost instantly, like she had been close enough to listen. She said my mother was resting. I said, "Then she can tell me that herself." They exchanged a quick look. That tiny flash of panic people get when the person they used to control stops following the script. My brother stepped aside. My father was in the living room, sitting in his recliner with the TV muted. He looked at me, then looked away. That told me more than any apology could. My mother was on the couch with a blanket over her lap. When she saw me, her eyes filled with relief and shame. I sat across from her and placed the papers on the coffee table. I kept my voice gentle because this part was for her. I asked, "Did you understand that these documents could move control of the farm to North Lantern Holdings?" She looked at the papers, then at me. "No," she said. "They told me it was for repairs and taxes." I asked, "Did you know North Lantern Holdings is registered to her?" My mother's face changed as the truth landed. My brother stepped forward and said, "This is ridiculous. You are twisting things." His wife added, "We were helping. Somebody had to be responsible since you ran off to Minneapolis and only show up when you want attention." I looked at her carefully. She had always been polished in that sharp way, the kind of person who made cruelty sound like organization. I said, "I showed up on Christmas Eve. You left me outside." She rolled her eyes. "You were not invited. That is not the same thing." My father finally spoke. "Tessa, maybe this is not the time." I turned to him. "When would be the time, Dad? Before or after my name got used on a loan application I never signed?" His mouth opened, then closed. My brother's wife said, "Your name was only listed because you had always helped with the farm. That does not mean anything." I laid the bank email flat on the table. It means something when a lender thinks I am guaranteeing debt. It means something when Mom signs paperwork she does not understand. It means something when an LLC registered to you starts appearing around property that does not belong to you. My brother snapped. "You think you are so smart because you work at a credit union." I said, No, I am smart because I finally stopped trusting people who only call me when they need money. His wife stepped in front of him. You wanted to be needed, she said. You liked being the hero. Now you are mad because we had one Christmas without you. I laughed once. You did not have Christmas without me. You had Christmas paid for by me. The groceries were on my card. The propane was mine. The insurance protecting those cabins was mine. The truck in the driveway is behind because I stopped covering the difference. So do not pretend you excluded me because I was dramatic. You excluded me because you thought I would keep paying after you made it clear I was not family. My mother started crying. My father stared at the carpet. My brother looked embarrassed, but not sorry. His wife was the one who finally lost control. Her face went red and she said, "Fine. You want the truth? You were never the daughter everyone loved. You were the account we called when things got expensive." The room went silent. Even my brother looked at her like she had gone too far, but he did not deny it. That was the part that mattered. I looked at my phone sitting face up on the coffee table, recording with the red timer running. Before I came in, I had clearly said I would record the conversation for my own protection. They had been too arrogant to care. I stopped the recording and stood. My voice was steady. Good. Then from now on, that account is permanently closed. My brother asked what that was supposed to mean. I gathered my papers and looked at each of them. It means Monday morning is going to be very busy. Then I walked out through the same front door that had been closed on me Christmas Eve. This time, I was not leaving empty-handed. Monday morning, I did not post anything online. I did not send angry texts or call relatives to tell my side. People like my brother and his wife expect emotional reactions because emotional reactions are easy to dismiss. Crazy, bitter, jealous, dramatic. I gave them paperwork instead. At 8:15, I sent a formal dispute letter to the Michigan bank handling the refinance application. I explained that my name had been used as a financial guarantor without authorization. I attached identification, old payment records, and a clear statement that voluntary support did not equal consent to debt. I requested an internal fraud review and asked that no loan connected to Caldwell Pine Farm and winter cabins move forward until all signatures were verified. At 9:30, I called a Michigan lawyer who specialized in elder financial exploitation and property disputes. Her name was Marlene Price, and her voice made panic feel unnecessary. I sent her everything: the LLC filing, my mother's photos, the refinance notice, the recording from the living room, the text from my father, the payment records, the voicemail where my brother's wife begged me not to stop the payments. Marlene listened, asked 3 sharp questions, and said, "This is not just family conflict. This is a pattern." By noon, she had a plan. Freeze any transaction involving the farm until the court could review whether my mother had been pressured or misled. Revoke any pending authority my brother or his wife claimed to have. Notify the insurance company and lenders that ownership and authorization were under dispute. Separate my finances completely from theirs. That last part felt like cutting a rope I had carried for years. I contacted the company tied to my brother's truck loan and confirmed I was not a co-borrower, only the person making supplemental payments. Those stopped permanently. I contacted the credit line lender and submitted evidence that the original agreement had been misrepresented to me. I had been told it was a short-term repair fund. Instead, they had carried a balance for nearly 2 years while using my payments to keep the account alive. The lender could not erase everything overnight, but they removed my payment method and flagged the account for review. I also called the snowplow contractor and the cabin insurance company. I was polite. I said the property owners needed to update billing information directly. Within 48 hours, the little world my brother and his wife had built on top of my silent payment started shaking. The bank froze the refinance application. The insurance company demanded ownership and payment verification. The credit line went past due because they assumed I would cave. The truck loan payment bounced. The lake house they were trying to buy suddenly required proof of funds they did not have. My brother called me 13 times in one day. His wife called from blocked numbers. My father left a voicemail saying I was humiliating the family. That almost made me angry enough to call back. They had humiliated me in the snow. They had used my name without permission. They had pushed my mother toward signing away control of property she did not understand. What they called humiliation was simply exposure. A week later, Marlene filed for an emergency hearing. My mother agreed to give a statement. That surprised me. I thought fear might make her retreat like always. But the night before she signed the affidavit, she told me, "I let too many things happen because I wanted everyone to get along. I cannot keep calling that peace." My father did not take it well. He called and said I was turning my mother against him. I told him the truth was doing that without my help. He said my brother made mistakes, but did not deserve to lose everything. I said, "Dad, I drove 6 hours through a storm, and you let me stand outside like I was nothing. Then you joked about it. You do not get to lecture me about what people deserve." For once, he had no smooth sentence to hide behind. Before the hearing, my brother's wife tried one last move. She sent a long message to the family group chat, saying I was unstable and bitter, trying to punish everyone because I felt left out at Christmas. She forgot several cousins were still in that chat. One asked if this was about the farm paperwork my mother did not understand. Another asked if they had really used my name on a loan. Then someone else asked why North Lantern Holdings was registered to her and not to my parents. The chat went silent. For the first time, she could not control the room. Then came her voicemail. No sharpness this time, just fear. "Tessa, please. We could lose the lake house deposit. Derek is not sleeping. Your dad is furious. This is going too far. Please, just call me." I saved it in the evidence folder and did not call back. By then, I understood something important. People who rely on your silence will always call you cruel when you finally speak through consequences. The hearing lasted less than an hour, but it changed the shape of my family permanently. My brother arrived in a wrinkled shirt, looking like he had not slept. His wife came dressed like she was attending a business meeting, holding a folder and wearing that controlled expression she used whenever she expected the world to bend around her version of events. My father sat behind them. My mother sat beside me. She looked nervous, but not weak. Marlene presented the case calmly. No insults. No dramatic speeches. Just facts. My mother had signed documents she did not fully understand. An LLC connected to my brother's wife had appeared around the farm paperwork. My name had been listed in a refinance process without my approval. Payments I had made voluntarily had been used to create the impression that I supported a financial plan I had never seen. Then Marlene played the recording from the living room. My brother's wife's voice filled the courtroom. "You were never the daughter everyone loved. You were the account we called when things got expensive." Hearing it there was different. In that quiet room, with a judge listening, the cruelty sounded smaller than I expected. Not powerful, not clever, just ugly. My brother stared down at the table. My father closed his eyes. His wife went pale. The judge temporarily froze all movement involving Caldwell Pine Farm and winter cabins. He ordered a review of the refinance application and any documents my mother had signed. He recognized my mother's right to revoke any authority she had given under pressure or misunderstanding. The bank later removed my name from the application and opened its own investigation into how it got there. The LLC transfer died before it could become official. The lake house deal collapsed first. My brother and his wife lost their deposit because they could not secure financing. Then the credit line came due under terms they could no longer hide from. Without me covering gaps, their truck payment fell behind. They sold it 3 months later. The cabin insurance had to be rewritten under my parents' direct control, and when the insurer reviewed the attempted refinance mess, the premium increased. My brother blamed me for that too, but blame did not pay bills. His wife lost more than money. She lost the image she had polished for years. In a town like Traverse City, people do not need the whole story. They only need to hear that someone tried to move family property into her own company, while an older woman said she did not understand the paperwork. She stopped posting perfect holiday photos. She stopped organizing family events. She stopped using the word responsible like it belonged to her. My brother had to take real work at the farm, not the pretend kind where he held a clipboard and talked about future plans. He cleaned cabins, managed bookings, shoveled snow, repaired fences, and learned how heavy a family business feels when nobody else is secretly paying to keep it standing. My father faced a different consequence. He did not lose a house or a truck, he lost authority. My mother opened separate accounts, hired an independent bookkeeper, and told him no major decision about the farm would be made without her reading every page herself. The first time she said that in front of me, he looked wounded. I did not comfort him. Some wounds are just the feeling of your own choices coming home. As for my mother, our relationship did not magically become perfect. Real healing is not one apology fixing 10 years, but she tried. She called without asking for money. She asked about my cooking class. She remembered the rosemary plant in my kitchen window and asked if June was still alive. I helped her too, but differently. I did not send random money into a black hole anymore. I helped her hire a bookkeeper. I helped set up separate accounts for the farm. I paid a licensed contractor directly to repair the heating system in 2 cabins, with an invoice, a contract, and my mother's written approval. Boundaries did not make me less loving. They made my love safer. By the next Christmas, Caldwell Pine Farm was still standing. The cabins were booked. The tree lot opened on time. My mother and I stood near the front gate one evening while families walked between the rows, choosing trees and carrying cups of hot cider. Snow fell lightly, the gentle kind this time. She looked at me and said, "I used to think peace meant keeping everyone happy. Now I think peace means not betraying yourself to avoid someone else's anger." I nodded because I had learned the same lesson the hard way. I never got a real apology from my brother or his wife. My father eventually said he regretted the text, but regret is not the same as repair. Strangely, I stopped needing it. The win was not that they suffered. The win was that I stopped volunteering to suffer with them. Family can be beautiful, but family without respect becomes a debt you can never finish paying. Helping people you love is not wrong. Being generous is not wrong. But when your kindness becomes an expectation, when your money becomes your only value, and when your silence is required to keep everyone comfortable, that is not love anymore. That is control. Education is not only what we learn in school. Sometimes the most valuable knowledge comes from the moment life forces us to ask why we keep giving to people who would not open the door for us in a storm. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are instructions for how your heart, your time, and your future must be treated. I drove 6 hours through a snowstorm hoping to be welcomed by my family. Instead, I found out exactly where I stood. And by walking away from that door, I finally walked back into my own life. The team behind Revenge Broken Trust is working hard to create meaningful, emotional, and well-crafted stories that leave viewers with something valuable to think about. This is a fictional story made for educational purposes, aiming to share useful life lessons through dramatic and engaging storytelling. Tessa's choice was not about cruelty, but about finally protecting her peace, her dignity, and the life she worked so hard to build. She did not destroy her family. She simply stopped funding people who refused to respect her. If you were in Tessa's place, would you have handled it the same way, Or would you have given them one more chance?